There we go. Welcome in, welcome in. So it has come to the point where we have a new stream, and I hope everything is working. I'm still kind of tinkering around with the transitions. They're not working at 100%. Look like freaking cutout there is a little bit wonky, but yeah. I hope everything is audible. I hope everyone can see it. We had some problems the last couple of streams with resolution issues and Twitch technicalities and whatnot. So I'm kind of transitioning over to a new profile and then kind of redoing a whole bunch. So my shortcuts are in a complete disarray. And I also came in from a 2-week cold that really took a damper in it. But hey, we're here. We're back. And for anyone tuning in for the first time, welcome in, welcome in. You have reached Strange Loop Games, and you are watching lead game designer here, Jens, on the Eco project. And we're going to talk a little bit about garbage and maybe poke a little bit on pollution, but that's going to be a dedicated separate stream. So we'll do that probably. We'll see if the stuff is ready. We got playtest kind of creeping up on us as well, so our schedule is really packed. But yeah, new stream, garbage, that's what you're here for. And I think we can just kind of cut right into it. And upgrade module. Yeah, let's talk about some trash, shall we? Just pure trash talking stream here. But no, I think we got most of the stuff technically under control. There are a whole slew of assets that's still being polished and cleaned up, texturized, and the jazz. So we do have a bunch of dev boxes. That'll be a little bit of a sad gray box here and there. And it my chaotic server as well. I've been testing things out, working with the other coders to kind of poke and see how things work gameplay wise. And it's a journey. 14.0 is coming along. Let's get this maximized out. Right. So, garbage. What's new? What's up? So first off, we have a new little waste management tab in Ecopedia that I'm trying to collect up all of the different objects that'll be related to this in order to help players kind of manage it a little bit. It's quite a few new objects and some sorters. Most of it is going to be fairly intuitive once you get your hands on it. But we got quite a bunch of things coming. And so I want to walk you through the initial steps of how you first tackle garbage and how you interact with it when you're starting out. You got your workbench, and as always, it's a work in progress. Recipes are going to change. Values you see are probably going to be changed by the time it reaches playtest and production release. So bear that in mind as we're going through here. Let's pop down a workbench. We have a couple of things going on. I've kind of been throwing things in here and there with some placeholder recipes. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so when you're crafting, you now have a new entity here in the crafting list that'll give you a display of how much garbage and trash this is going to generate when it's crafted. Which means anything and everything is going to generate garbage of different types. They are categorized according to sort of hierarchical materials. So adobe, as an example, has bioresidue and wood scrap in it. Because it's using dirt and, kind of plant materials. And then it has wood scrap as the wood pieces in it. And that's kind of the approach I'm taking to a lot of the recipes, just kind of, fairly straightforward in what they might be yielding. And when shredded text is going to be changed, but it's essentially the salvage cost. So if you want to recycle an item, say, you're done with your adobe house, you don't want it anymore, instead of as right now where people get stockpiles and stockpiles and stockpiles of old material and they have nowhere to put them. They either just hand them out for free or they just get stockpiled indefinitely and you just have an ever-growing scrapyard essentially. Now you can actually salvage those things and get stuff back from it. It's a bit of a compression, if you will, in terms of volume on block to garbage. You're not going to get the full block back. Different machines are also going to have an efficiency rate, so some materials you'll have a higher rate out of comparingly. But yeah, so you generate garbage with everything you're crafting. So wood boards, for example, they're just crafting, turns it into wood scrap. If you make 100 boards, you get 3.2 blocks of wood scrap with you. And then that's going to need to be processed. You're going to need to have someone either pick it up or, you know, deal with it yourself, burn it in incinerators, and so on and so forth. And that brings us into, I wonder if this actually worked now. Yeah, look at that. We have assets worth. Flip over to noon again. So for the garbage in the household and the crafting setup, you're gonna mainly be having three new types of, or one new type of storage, but three kind of scales of it. So you have the primitive or the wooden bin that you start off with, that you're gonna be building in the workbench. And then you have steel bins later on, and then going over to plastic and kind of modern containers. So you're connecting up your crafting station to a garbage bin, and then that'll just kind of eat out the scrap or any garbage you generate on crafting with it. Now, once you've accumulated it, you're gonna need to take care of it, and that brings us into transportation. Let's see if I can do. Grab us a wood cart. So initially, you don't have you don't have drivable vehicles, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But we are going to grab. Where's the garbage man when you need him, right, Leaf? Welcome in. Let me just grab my cheat sheet here. Do wood scrap, just for sanity's sake. So, say you crafted a whole bunch of boards. That gives you wood scrap, and the mixed garbage bag that you're gonna get out of it, they can mix. They will blend seamlessly with everything. So if you have a crafting station, for example, like, I don't know if I set that up properly. Let's go lumber blocks. Lumber blocks, as an example, creates wood scrap, bioresidue, and iron scrap. Which means all three of these items are going to be mixed together with that piece of garbage. And we can actually show that, how that looks. Not on the specific, but I got a few mixes. So when you have mixed garbage, chuck it in the bin here. You can see that it contains 60% textiles and 40% bioresidue. Now the other one was containing 100% wood scrap. Now these will blend, mix, and kind of jolt around if you're careless. And sorry for my voice, my cold decided to just nuke my throat, so talking too much has been something I've been avoiding, so we'll see how this stream goes. Yeah, so if you have a mixed bag, it has 100% of something. This is much easier to sort out in terms of turning it back into something that is reusable. So for example, turning wood scrap into fibrous boards, or some of the recycled recipes that we already have in existence. But if you don't manage your garbage and you manage your kind of crafting stations where things are being deposited, you can end up mixing these up and they will blend. That was the wood scrap one. That was the bioresidue one. Yeah, there we go. It was just tooltip was lagging behind on the update. So once you have, once you start mixing, it becomes more complicated at pulling apart. So once you go to a sorting station, it'll take more resources in order to separate out the content. So you want to separate out the wood scrap from the textiles, from the bioresidue, and so on, to be able to reuse it completely. You can also opt to just incinerate it later on. You can just burn the garbage. It'll create pollution depending on what's in it, and it'll create different types of pollutions under those criteria as well. Yeah, so new storages. You got some garbage coming out of the crafting stations, which also means you can't just indefinitely craft, 4 million boards and not have some kind of penalty for it. But how to deal with that in general? Well, if we take our property, so we have a new pickup bounty, and name pending kind of thing. It works similar to how the considering the new garbage update, is there gonna be some quality of life updates that allows us to select different storage outputs or recipes in the same table? It'll be per table, but we're looking over the storage component as a whole, to be able to kind of set filters to some degree. A Thibaut that's working on that's on the SLG team now, from the modding community, amazing French guy. He has a mod out for some inventory sorting stuff, so he already has prior experience to dealing with and kind of modding it from the modding side of it. So we're looking over design-wise how far we want to take what could potentially kind of push towards a lot of automation and kind of the whole automated production chain and kind of where things goes back and forth, because we still want logistics and dealing with different inventory types to be something that the player needs, kind of as a challenge, pushing the player to need to deal with. But at the same time, because of this adding a lot of complication with inventory management, we are also revising what we view as acceptable from our end of some kind of go-to features. And on the mining subject, actually, since you bring up the stamp mill, etc., tailings, for example, is going to be a garbage type. So they're not going to pop out as just plain tailings from processing. It's going to have more waste to it. It's going to be more, there's going to be more pollutants to it, and you're going to have different treatment methods as well. But we'll talk about that on a more dedicated pollution stream, because I think there's so much with the pollution changes that it kind of deserves its own shine in the spotlight. Let's see if I can manage to do this. If I do... What was that command? I cannot for the life of me remember. Oh, that's not it. There's an add guest somewhere. Let's just see if this works. So, essentially, pickup bounty. If there's trash in the bin, you can enable it, and you can pay people to come pick up your trash. So this will be per item, i.e. per block. And you have the usual selection for currency, selection of bank account, etc., and the default price for the items. And then with that set, someone can walk up to your trash bin, and they can go, pick up items for 25 iSports credits. And they go, bam. Now, we've also added some cool nifty features for this. If I can do... let's put that to abandoned. There you go. So, here, you have that tooltip for collecting stuff. Now, since it's block materials, it's it's bulky materials. You can have quite a lot of it. You're gonna need to transfer it with a vehicle, etc. It is gonna cost some a headache if we just have you forcibly to be picking up manual trash collecting all the time. So, of course I don't have access to it. Let's do that. Let's do... Why is that not added as guests? That did not have everyone on authorization. Like I said, there's still some quirks, and it's not entirely ready for playtest, hence why it's not entirely playtest ready. If this works now. There you go. So it's missing some tooltips that did not pop up. But you interact with it and you go pick up items. And that gives you a nice little visual thing. I believe that might not be pushed to SVN yet. That's why. But it gives you a radius. So it gives you a nice little visual circle radius thing. And then that gives you access to kind of throw it into the cart. It is not playing nice. I love doing streams because everything just plays nice until you hit start stream and then everything just breaks. What stops people from just continuing dumping trash into a ditch or just leaving them in stockpiles unattended? Why would anyone care? Oh, so one, everyone can do that. And you can do that today with, you know, tailings or just the general garbage blocks. But it is going to start polluting. And pollution has major overhaul changes. So there are going to be different degrees of pollution types. And some are going to be, some are going to rescind as you remove trash. Similar to how it works today. Like you have a stockpile of tailings, it starts polluting. You remove the tailings, it no longer pollutes. It kind of just vanishes magically. That's not going to be the case in the future. It is going to be permanently polluting, requiring resources in order to clean it up. Waterways, rivers are also going to carry pollution a lot further than before. So there's a whole slew of new penalties and all kinds of shenanigans that just punishes you for doing bad things or for not treating environmental things accordingly. So general household trash like bio stuff is not going to pollute generally that much, but you're going to have more towards heavy chemical pollutants and more mineral pollutants as well. That's going to be more severe and carry a lot further. We've also removed a lot of the caps that previously existed, so you could pollute as much as you wanted in a singular centric area and it just would not spread further. And now it's gonna kind of carry by wind/water a lot further than it did before. So there's gonna be a lot more depth to that section. But yeah, like I said, we'll revisit that once I have all the layers to show you and kind of go over and show you some of the simulations for it. But yeah, you collect garbage. And you can see Unity's throwing me RPC errors here, so something is not right, which is probably just Unity needing a restart or something. Once you have trash in the bin, we can just kind of give ourselves some trash, throw that in there. You want to sort this. So for convenience sake, we're just gonna kind of play around here on the right, because I started building a little bit of a trash assembly area, but I think it might be better to kind of go over each step here with you. So that's one way to generate garbage. The other one is through a recycler. Can I spell no? There we go. So a shiny recycler object. It will have art stuff to it, I promise. It's gonna have things. But the recycler in itself is very, very similar to the yacht crusher. So we're just gonna drop that down there. It's essentially gonna be a big machine. It does crunch, crunch, crunch. And it'll take any block that has anything that has a salvage material related to it, and it'll turn it into that material. So we grab advanced circuits, for example. That's too heavy. I want them anyway. Got them in here. Don't mind the Christmas presents. So the recycler has its own inventory, and it's missing a what's the tech level of the recycler? Most of the garbage sorting stuff is going to be mechanics straight through. We might fill in more assets along the line to kind of fill in kind of earlier stage tech stuff. Like have like a trash heap that you do things in, and then some other stuff. But generally speaking, it's gonna be kind of mechanics where you start, and then it kind of scales up towards industrial. Just like the basic engineer could have an early version. Yeah. We're settling with mechanics and kind of the steam start area over to electronics or electricity. But it's all kind of open-ended. I'd like to fill in and have different tiers of the appliances in order to properly just allow you to do sorting to a degree across the board. But that is mainly how much time the art team has to get the assets ready. And then we can probably fill out more along the way after 14.0 release. During the autumn here. But yeah, so the recycler is going to churn, and it's going to take stuff, and it's going to turn them into their base components. So in our case of the advanced component circuits, you have gold, copper, plastic, and chemical waste. Now, chemical waste is not something that's going to be returned to you. It's going to turn into an actual pollutant block. But you slap that into the recycler, and it's going to start eating it up. We have some new UI stuff for it that Tibo's been shoving together. It just didn't really get ready in time for the stream. So you got some debugging information. But it's essentially, it's turning it into garbage. It's chucking it into a nearby garbage container as it goes along. And as you can see, it's kind of divisive and different types of materials, so it's gonna have different outputs. Why is it not continuing? It has an owner. It's being idle. Why is the input? Why are you being sad? I like I said, I love this. It's absolutely beautiful. Works until you looks at it, and then it doesn't. Okay, you know what? Go away, Shu. We're here for sorters. So, crunching it, recycling it, etc., or generating scrap garbage from your house. Everything's going to go through a garbage sorter at some point, which is your first step of getting through a input material. So this will be eating whichever. If we just do take all from anything and everything. We're missing some tooltips and some other assets as always. But let me pull up the, where is that thing? Here. If we transition over to this one, and this is the general resource flow chart for what you're going to be generating, what the type of catalyst or filter method for the different items, and kind of the process for it. So you have that mixed garbage bag, which is coming in at that top, and then you're going through a general garbage sorter that'll filter out the mixed garbage into its 4 categories, which in turn is bio waste, metal scrap, construction scrap, and then industrial waste. And early game, generally speaking, you're only ever going to see the first 3 categories, because the 4th one is mainly towards the modern era kind of thing, where you're starting to use, you know, a lot more heavy duty chemicals to process machinery and manufacturing. And this is also where you're looking at what you can separate out. So anything that you manufacture that has metal in it of some type is going to generate garbage for iron, copper, or gold. I'm intentionally excluding steel initially, just because I kind of want to rehash and kind of reapply with carbon and flux. That might change in the future. We might just add steel scrap as a separate thing, but I'm kind of leaning into just keeping the 3 main metal types. And then you're looking at ceramic for like porcelain, clay, bricks, wood scrap, or anything that's obviously wood. Stone, same thing there. Fairly self-obvious, self-explanatory. And then you process these in through a tier 2 sorter, if you will, for specific sorting of that category. So that'll be using, as metals goes, for example, you've got sulfuric acid and magnets as a catalyst to be able to separate out the iron from the copper from the gold. And for construction scrap, you're looking at different mesh filters. And these are new items that's going to be consumed by the sorters as they're processing. And for the industrial sorter, you're looking at carbon filter, which is going to be using, you know, active coal, so charcoal processing, and so on. And then electrostatic filter for the plastic. And then tailings and wet tailings are going to be coming out as byproducts and just bad materials you can't get anything sensible out of. Will there be a new job for the recycling skill? Yes. It is currently just set under scientist. It doesn't have any fancy crafting recipes yet because I'm still working on the tech tree. But the recycling, it has one sad little one with sulfuric acid. But this is where a lot of the reprocessing recipes, and this is something that I'd like a general community input on it, because as reviewing kind of what the recycling can do, should do, when it comes to you've sorted out, you know, iron scrap. I've been both kind of pro and con if I wanted to leave the actual smelt into iron bar recipe with the recycling skill, rather than give, you know, an iron bar recipe for recycled scraps over to the smelter, which would give kind of everyone have a use for recycling specialty, versus having it all on the recycling skill, which would kind of force you to either sell off scrap that you've sorted but you don't have the tables for, and so on. So I'm kind of in a little bit of a bind on where I really want some of those kind of, you know, return to the market products to be ready. How do we handle any garbage before mechanics? Oh, burn it. It's either it's going to be stockpiling and kind of fiddling around, and this goes into the whole low tier thing. We might have like a general early tier scrap heap garbage sorter for dealing with some of it, but a lot of the early tier recipes are, and this is why so if a bag contains very little mixed materials, and I'll give you an example on this here shortly. If the garbage sorter wants to play nice, which gonna need some catalyst, so it's gonna be wanting some mesh filters. What else was in there? Textiles and bioresidues. We want to have some dirt, which is placeholder for the biomaterials. And then you can see the beautiful white blocks, because the art team is still working on some triplanar stuff. Since it's going to be block materials, they're going to blend with stuff. They're going to look all nice and pretty. They're currently a work in progress. And so is this UI, by the way. It is just a kind of placeholder thing. So we have a mixed garbage here being processed, and it's containing bioresidue and textiles. It's being processed using the catalyst, which is the remainder durability you see. And the output is a block of mixed bio-waste, where it'll either mean massive scrap piles or recycling not being used because of how late it is. Oh, you're not gonna be able to avoid... Well, I mean, generally, yeah, you can avoid recycling. But depending on what material it is, burning it is also gonna cause pollution in different ways. Yeah, we got until July 3rd for the first playtest. Yeah. But that's from the looks of it, most of the art stuff is gonna be done this week. So that should all be... It's all kind of catching up right now. Like I said, I got kind of incapacitated for 2 weeks, so I'm way behind on tech tree stuff. Does the sorter consume electricity or mechanical energy? Right now it's not set up with it, but it'll be mechanical energy. And which also kind of brings us over, since actually let's my ability to focus is just not existing right now. So before I venture off, my brain needs to kind of just relay this before we run up to another topic. Like I said, early tier, you're gonna be looking with a lot of very kind of strict material parts. So as an example of that was the wooden board recipe. And of course we don't have access to it right now, but we can do a dev tool and we have access to it. So the Adobe being kind of a different topic because it is a multi-material thing. But if you're manufacturing boards, for example, or doors or things that only require generally one resource, two resource things, it's only producing wood scrap. So if you take that garbage block that only contains wood scrap, we go over here and we do a new little thing over here just to kind of showcase the clarity of it. Garbage file. And then we just want to claim it because it will not work without a claim. If we have, we'll give ourselves some garbage. Give ourselves some pure wood scrap garbage. If we do that, so this is just manufacturing boards. You're looking at just wood scrap contents. And then we do mesh filter. So now this is going to start to process the mixed garbage bags with wood scrap. And the efficiency of the machine is currently set to 70%, which is why it's returning a certain percentage of it. So now, as it's processing, it turns directly into wood scrap. Because it doesn't have anything else mixing in it. It doesn't have anything else kind of polluting that garbage. It is purely creating wood scrap. Now, if this was mixed with, say, dirt, this would no longer create just plain wood scrap. It would create bio scrap. And that would then need to be sorted one step further down in order to separate out the construction scrap from the other biomaterial. And so keeping some of the workbenches clean from each other, or if you have multiple people working on the same property and you have a bunch of different workstations, having separate garbage bins for different machines is definitely something that you might want to be looking at. Actually do one more modern garbage. I just do that now. There you go. So, since that one isn't owned by me, we're just gonna do this. And we're gonna take some wood scrap, throw it in there. So you saw me dealing with the garbage with the wood cart. I'll get rid of the wood cart. One of the things that we have done is we have slimmed down the trucks. See, look at that, beautiful. They are no longer just straight out carry capacity. And why have we done such a thing? Well, anyone that has been poking their noses on the Discord has obviously seen some of the screenshots, etc. But the trucks are now modular, so the same deal as the tractors. They can now take different modules, and so you have the truck trailer, which is kind of an inappropriate name for it. It'll be renamed into a flatbed, but that is essentially your old good style old general cargo truck. So with that, it then gets a storage. You can use it and haul as usual. You remove that thing, it no longer has a storage. And that is also one of the big technical things that has been happening. Previously, the way it worked was that the storages were defined on the vehicle itself, which meant we had no way really to restrict certain modules being able to carry certain types of materials. We would have to do like a whole slew of nested condition parameters for depending on the module it's being using, etc. It's a lot easier from a technical standpoint now, and we can just set the module slots and everything on how many inventory slots and what inventory restrictions it is on the actual module itself. So that makes it a lot more convenient for us. It should be a lot easier from the modding perspective as well. And we can do, since it is modular, we can also do new cool things with it. So one of the new modules that you've probably seen is the garbage module. This, convoluted name, pending rename. So you get this one. And this then allows you to go pick up trash. I mean, current target can't be fueled. There you go. So now you have later stages, or the further down the line you get, the easier it gets to deal with garbage. So not only do you have a nice little vehicle that's specialized in garbage pickups, it is also, if this actually works now, it worked when I was testing it freaking 20 minutes ago, or 20 minutes prior to the stream starting. But it doesn't seem to play nice right now. Why is it not working? Swear to God, everything works until you start streaming. Will you play nice with this garbage bag? No? Or is it Unity having a meltdown? You know what? We're just gonna do a little. We're just gonna do a little thingy here, and then I'm just gonna go pause and play on Unity and see if there's just Unity being shenanigans. Because it was throwing some errors earlier. Oh no, it's as always, everything works until someone else is intended to look at it, and it just goes. It's lovely. But yeah, you probably got the gist. You can take the truck, you can drive up to a garbage bin, and you can just pick the garbage bin up, and it'll dump the contents in the garbage truck and place the bin back down, and on you go. Why? What is Unity doing right now? Hello, Unity? Please? Please, pretty please? Server is running fine. There we go. There we go. Well, yes, Unity is having a seizure as always. How do I plan to balance pollution? pollution needs balance. That seems superfluous. I'll just let you pollute. That's fine. No, so what we're looking at from a general garbage generation standpoint is kind of how much production you're looking at per player per day on average. Kind of the Steam trucks get a garbage module. Steam trucks do get a garbage module. Shopee Games, they are most definitely also getting to join the party. Yeah, look at that. It picked the wrong bin, but it did pick a bin. Oh yeah, that's because there was the bin that had contents was the steel bin. That's why it picked from it. Yeah, see that? Just swoosh. Wonder if it'll allow me to pick up from here now. Yeah, look at that. And I don't know why it's being boaty, but that is something that I'll have to look at as well. Yeah, so you can pick up garbage and go back to a stockpile, dump it out, and then, you know, do your thing. What if someone crafts so much that the trash is causing death to everything around them? See, that sounds like a civic problem. Because that is absolutely something that could happen. And we're, you know, you already have that problem with the mining part, right? You know, you're generating garbage and you're generating tailings from the mining. Previously, you would just bury it underground. Now you get a lot more stuff that you need to kind of worry about that has practical applications in the world, and it'll just kind of it'll require more involvement and will have more significant impact on the environment overall. It's gonna be a huge shift in it. We're really pushing towards doing a lot of depth and content into yeah, looking forward to seeing how people react when they can't leave 1000 crafts queued per night early on end and it gets stuck by garbage. Eco aligns closer and closer to the world we live in. Strange loop, ensuring we all just live in eco for now. Yeah, no, but it's one of those. Yeah, it needs a starter tent with a garbage bin included. No, I think like having an initial like, hey, you're generating garbage, craft a primitive bin to be able to store it. Air pollution gonna be more consequential. So one of the things for that is I'm looking at separation for the two. It's always been a absolute headache of mine in that CO2 increase causes temperature increase as well as water increase. It's not 1, 2, 3. It's a 1, 2, 1, 3 process. We're looking at separating that as well. So the air pollution is causing temperature increase, but the temperature increase is causing the water rise, which should give you a more gradual environmental effect before you start seeing, you know, your world's flood. Because it's always felt very unfair that you can trigger both at the same time in the same day, essentially. I want to have that you can see the temperature increasing, and as it's gradually building up, even if you're going like full ham on pollution, it's not gonna just nuke the world right away. You're gonna have some leeway and period of reaction to what's happening around you before it starts to really cause significant problems. Is garbage gonna kill surrounding animals? Pollution in general tends to prevent animal spawns to some degree, but we are looking into just animal behaviors across the board, both with buildings and kind of using a little bit of the trample effect and trying to get the animals to avoid more residential areas. Is there any plans to create a carbon filter of some sort that intakes air pollution and reprocesses into carbon, something similar? We're looking at different machinery and kind of real... One of the big things from our perspective in terms of the environmental effects and how things work, what we're using for the players to mitigate, remove, or deal with some of the consequences is all based on real-world applicable things. So the filter methodology and the sorters, the reasons for the catalysts being what they are all based on like real-world applicable solutions. So carbon emission and carbon kind of CO2 absorption methods exist. There's a lot of cool trials for stuff that is kind of they're working on figuring out how to scale them to industrial level production in Japan and China, among other places where they have a lot of air pollution problems. So there's definitely a venue there for having like a nice little air suction device that just allows you to eat some carbon emission. But yeah, with it we're also, which actually, before we get to the upgrade modules, and this is probably going to go on for a little bit longer before I get to that. Oceans are now oceans. We've differentiated the liquids. What is the electric water pump called? Is it just electric water pump? I can never remember if it's electronic. Yeah, look at that. Look at this beautiful thing, right? And then we just go this, and we go some copper blocks. We do that. And then we just go this. And then we just do this. Go on. One more out, and then we go down. That was a sand block, of course. Come on, shader. Go. Thank you. I love that that text is also not popping up on the stream as well, so it just looks like I get a random freeze thing. Let's go down here. There we go. And then we just grab ourselves a wind turbine. Imagine it was that easy in the game to just, here, have electricity. So, we have, when you are pulling in water... can I showcase the pipe and block yet? Yeah, that thing is actually working. I can never remember what's actually live on release or not. But that is also a significant change as well. So, remember the good old problems you were having? Actually, let's do that over here. When you're trying to build a house and you need to have an ugly-ass hole in the wall in order to conveniently get water into your house. Well, you know, fret no more. You can put pipe. See, water's not going anywhere. It's still there. However, you can go shift right click and you can route the pipe through the wall. And bam! There is now a pipe inside this block. And liquid comes out the other side. You know, just a little an extra accident thing there. And now this goes so crazy that you can do this and you can put it in anywhere and it's just gonna, you know, go out the way you want it. Same thing here. It'll just route to... We're still working on some of the asset, kind of how it deals with extensions into different blocks. But any block you have a pipe into, you know, you can just use that as an actual pipe block. And the same thing works when you need to disassemble this. So if I'm not carrying any pipes, and you start to deconstruct it, it'll pick up the pipes first. And then you can start picking up the blocks. So yeah, pipes through blocks. That's a thing now. But yeah, as you saw, looking at the water pumps, you're getting salt water here. You're not getting fresh water. And this is running on the saline level of the body of water you're working with. So if you have and I'm hoping this works because I have barely gotten time to actually test some of these things. Just check this down here. And we go same thing here. We just want to get a little bit of pipes. And give me a pipe. Give me a pipe. Come on. Give me pipe. Please pipe. Thank you. There you go. See, here you get water. And yeah, different types of water. And the same thing here. If you have a body of water that is polluted, it'll generate polluted water. It will not generate regular water. You are gonna need to run it through a waste filter in order to clean it up to be used by machines. Machines only take fresh water as an input source. So for I can't even spell. So for salt water, you have a new water filter, which is, you know, it's still not entirely rigged up yet, but in essence, is it flipped the other way around? Did someone mess up on the acid side? Oh yeah, it's complaining that it doesn't have an owner now. There you go. Yeah, I think someone turned it the other way around. But essentially, it'll take salt water, and it'll create water. So you're saying that the steam engine will stop working because it's polluting its own water source? That is correct. So you're gonna need to draw the water from somewhere slightly further upstream. You got an example for processes running on salt water or sweet waters, respectively? No, but the not rigged up yet. But the this does offer us a way, and this is something that it's inherently not really been a thing in eco before, in that we've only ever treated water as water, right? We haven't really done anything that's, you know, crippled the user because they've been mismanaging their general water sources. So if you're polluting along a coastline or a riverway, etc., the pollution is going to carry further. It's going to become a problem because you are going to need to draw fresh water from somewhere, or you're going to need to treat it somewhere. And it's kind of a first step on it. We're looking at some other general utility upgrades, because I would like to go from the current process of we just have rates to having actual kind of volume buildups. You have, you know, 1,000 liters of water in a tank, which would allow you the kind of on-off leeway between machinery usage, and then the machine uses a certain quantity of water per hour, which would allow you to kind of build up a reserve in a tank and then kind of use that. And the same thing for like the issue of waste filter and the electricity generation, and that kind of catch-22 where you can't run the waste filter, but you need the waste filter to run the pump in order to get water, and so on. So there's a lot of headaches still with that utility system that we want to kind of smash out and get done for kind of push it into 1.0 ready state. So this is kind of a big step towards that, with pollution changes and the liquid management changes. So yeah, it has a lot of fundamental impacts on how you approach problems, and how you encounter the problems in the first place. So yeah, there's going to be a playtest that's going to start on one of the vanilla servers. I don't remember which one it is, but just a plain out straight regular playtest, and that's scheduled for 3rd of July. And then a week after that has started, we're also going to kick off a White Tiger one. Yeah, Royal Otter. Thank you. I think the week after, on the 10th, it's going to be the White Tiger playtest start. So that's really going to stress test the systems. So if you have opportunity, you want to help out, and you want to just poke and prod at the new stuff, make sure you hop in there, because, you know, any opinion helps. And feedback on problems you run into, or, you know, hey, this is absolutely crazy, this needs to be tuned down, or this is way too low of an impact, we need to crank this up, or and so on and so forth, or, you know, you can't get enough gold, crank up the recycling and the gold efficiency recipes and so on. we love the we love the feedback, and we try to use as much of it as we can. So make sure to pop in on the playtest if you have an interest in just kind of breaking the stuff that we're building. As always. So I think that most of the garbage stuff. I would like to give you a tour on the visuals on some of these things, because the sorters are massive. Like they are like 5x8 block. Like, you know, the sorters are essentially like twice the size of the sawmill and then some. So having a full recycling plant is going to require you to have some space. Make recycling overpowered and then tone it down, not the other one around. Yeah, so, you know, and that's also one of the things that we're looking at doing. So volume storage compression in the specialized storages for, you know, garbage in general is going to be a lot better than storing it in a regular stockpile. It's going to pollute very, very little comparatively. So recycling is going to be very expensive to start. I don't think so. I don't want to have it as a very costly investment, but it is fairly bulky stuff in terms of just kind of housing space. But you can also start with recycling, and if you have separate garbage, you can kind of skip some of the steps. So I think it feels more. It feels more complicated than it is once you actually start poking at it. I've had a lot of fun just messing around with it and doing stuff locally, just kind of getting a feel for it, and it feels less complicated once you start to poke at it, really. 5 mechanics made tables plus claims to place it and a steam engine to power it. Yeah, it does have, you are correct, it does have a little chunky thing, which is also why we have a primitive. I think this one isn't entirely textured yet. It's still missing kind of garbage ground textures. But currently it was initially kind of prodded in as, boom, gone. Magic trick. It was initially thought of as being like a primitive stockpile type for garbage. But we might repurpose it to be like an early garbage sorter. To allow you to get into it like in basic engineering and like really crude early tier stuff. Like I said, it depends a little bit on how much time the art team has for the assets, and how complicated we make the assets and how big they are. So we'll see. In my world, I'd love to get away with having all 3 tiers. So an early stage kind of basic engineer, and then over into so on. But yeah, so that's a lot on the garbage stuff. We have one more topic to kind of break into, and this is gonna get everyone absolutely riled up and just go, what are you thinking? How crazy are you? This is not gonna work. This is absolutely freaking mad. And that's the upgrade modules. It's something that is it's been on my wish list for a long time. We finally got around to having let's flip that back. Having the ability and the bandwidth to do it. And so modules have been changed out. We no longer have the, you know, basic 1, 2, 3, 4, the advanced 1, 2, 3, 4, the modern upgrade 1, 2, 3, 4. They're simplified down, so you have a basic, advanced, and modern upgrade. And they go into, and don't hate me now, the stars are just placeholder things. Gonna be 1 across the board by default. But I just want to showcase the fact that you can set them individually in the server configs. So there is config files to dealing with how much each slot costs. But essentially, you are investing in upgrades on your workstation. And because of how this works, and because you are now looking at basic, advanced, modern, plus the specialty in every table, that means you have one upgrade to get early stage, you have one upgrade to get mid stage, and you have one upgrade to get late stage. So we do, I think we named, do you call them basic upgrade? Yeah. Upgrade, who can spell? I can't spell. And then we have a modern one. There you go. So, you have the basic one, goes into slot 1, and then the advanced one, and then the modern one. And then you have a little tooltip prompt that gives you a little bit of information. Now, some of this is placeholder stuff, in terms of the effects of things. But essentially, the upgrade that you put into a table is a permanent upgrade. Yeah, don't mind the heat, it's just testing property stuff. But, well, kind of mind the heat, but don't mind the heat. So you have a couple of things in here. One, when you're adding an upgrade, it increases the room tier. 2, when you're adding an upgrade, we have the ability to also change out the power usage of that station. Which means for the modern upgrade into the sawmill, it'll change out from mechanical power into electrical power. So as you upgrade tables, they'll move over from either no power requirement into having power requirement of some type. But also, essentially, all machines that are using mechanical power right now, that you're still running steam generators, late game 4, etc. If you upgrade them with modern upgrades, they'll transition into electrical power, and you no longer need to use mechanical power late game. So you can just run an electrical power grid. And it's been on the topic for a long time, and it's also why I've been kind of not really ignoring, but not. So I'll get on the mechanical one. There's been a lot of requests for like dynamos and having backwards power compatibility for like an electrical generator that gives off mechanical power or takes electrical power and gives off mechanical power, but that has a lot of kind of other complications code-wise for how the power grid system works, and it's also something that I want to go upwards, and as you point out there, Martin, the star cost on the table is, you know, it'll be 1 per. So it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, or, you know, a gradual upwards. It'll be 4 points in order to fully upgrade the work table. This will also be reflecting into, I'm looking over a lot of the crafting speeds on the majority of recipes, so you will generally need less crafting tables. Because a lot of the recipes, they still haven't really conformed to the changes to the talent system, and I've just haven't had the time to kind of go over it. Yeah, no, so for, well, depending on the quantity and the people you want to service, you're gonna need more machinery. But you shouldn't be needing, you know, 8 campfires to 10 people, right? There should be a ratio of how many machines you need to keep feeding a certain amount of people, and then once you start getting over that, you're gonna need to add more machines. This looks like not fun for mechanics and industry. So that's another bit that we will also have an electric campfire in the end. So the system does allow us to bypass it. So we can set if we want to skip certain power changes in different machinery, and so on. So for example, the campfire, it's just gonna upgrade the campfire. It's not gonna add or change, you know, it using regular heat fuel. But overall, once you have a thing in here, now, like I said, it's a little bit of a placeholder. There's some values in here just for testing purposes. So the basic one, if it's already using mechanical power, it's not gonna transition down. So if you add a mechanical, it'll switch out, and I was rebuilding the server, so you know, kind of fiddles around, and it's not entirely 100% yet, and I think it's missing some tooltip things. There you go. And the module, because of the changes in how much the modules are going to be costing, you're going to use less modules across the board for the server wide, to some degree. Like, you're not going to have everyone needing, well, everyone's going to need modern upgrades, but not everyone is going to need, you know, you're not going to need that 1, 2, 3, 4 modern upgrades anymore. So you are going to see a significantly reduced general resource cost to the module parts of the playthrough. So there are a certain, you know, there are a couple of bits here and there. But yeah, so as you invest points, and this is also something that I wanted to, the general initial idea for the module changes were that they were going to go into with the talent upgrades. Because I want to tie in any general cost reduction to a star cost. And modules were kind of this, you know, it cost general resources to accumulate, to make, but it didn't cost your character anything necessarily. And you just got, you know, a bunch of different free stuff, and in the end of it, because of them. And it also balances out to, so basic upgrades, the 1, 2, 3, 4 parts is going away. It's just going to be the singular type of basic upgrade, and the singular advanced upgrade, and the singular modern upgrade. So the recipes are going to be shuffled around. And you no longer have that whole jump back, take out the 1, get it upgraded to 2, put the 2 back in, use that for a day, take it out, get a 3, put that back in. So there were a couple of things design-wise that we wanted to solve with this. One of them was the bouncing around everyday change of upgrades. And this is more directed towards like the casual audience and the people that don't have the availability really day to day. Is there baseline balance for the rate of XP change? Yeah, so it'll be ramped up a little bit to give you a bit more stars to alleviate it. At current, even changing XP for the server, it feels kind of like the base gain is still the same. So there are a couple of quirks with how the XP works, but the parameters available should be flexible enough to give you quite a different curve if you wanted it. But it's essentially just increasing the base XP gain a little bit to give you that boost of stars needed for it, because we're expecting people to need you know, probably like 35-40 more stars in general, fairly easily. Like I said, the playtest is going to reveal how this is going to change, because of the huge changes to crafting, recipe timers, and costs. That's also going to have a reflective value on how many tables you're going to need. You need less tables, you need less stars. Can I insert just specialty module? Could be the cheapest one. Yes, you can insert any one of the modules at any given time. So, you know, if you don't have access to the basic modules on the market, you can just truck in an advanced one. Or, you know, the specialty one and so on. So, they're independent slots. Whatever is the highest type of power is the one that it'll use. So, if you insert a modern one, it upgrades to electricity. It's not going to downgrade to mechanical energy because you put in this tier 2 later. Or it's not going to change out to heat because you put in the basic one last. It's just going to use the biggest powerful one. One of the reasons Eco is mixed reviews on Steam recently because of the recent star change. Star change means you can do nearly every profession yourself. You do housing and diet, right? Yeah, so benefits and bonuses are going to be changed out in order for you to significantly more benefit by just resource reductions across the board. I was a little bit too modest in some of the values because I was generally concerned with having that value significantly higher and then reducing it over time because people tend to be very upset over reductions. So I kind of cranked out the a lot of the talent values lower than I probably should have. And we'll see a whole bunch of new balance patches and gonna continue the revisions over them, so they're gonna gradually increase until we hit a nice ratio. You need 4 for the maximum benefit, yeah. And what is heat as power? Heat is just plain old fuel. If we do like a campfire, for example, I slapped on a campfire here. The power type, and it has burnable fuel as power. Brings us into it. So what will be the benefit of the new modules, and will their effect and can they be merged? Yeah, so the overhaul to the module system is completely tied in with the same bonus system as the talent system uses, which means from a modding perspective, any property or any type of benefit that you have as a talent can also be applied to a module to a certain degree. You know, obviously you can't add Lucky Strike as a module for a table because, you know, the table's not going to go out and chop wood for you. But you can do anything else. You can do power reduction, power increase, labor costs, recipe unlocks, you know, general resource stuff, and all of these other bits. So anything that is a benefit available on the talent tree is applicable for the modules as well, so you can kind of just go absolutely crazy with it. And this is also scalable for modding purposes as well. So if you wanted to have 28 module slots in a table, that's doable from that perspective. So, you know, it's all about really empowering the people and making sure that we kind of give you a sandbox and cool tools and a nice starting point to kind of get your feet wet. And then the communities and the server managers are absolutely amazing at creating different scenarios and having completely different playing experiences on different servers. And that's one of the big things that we want to just, you know, give more back into the players, so they can really just customize the experience the way they want. Do I have anything else right off the bat right now? I think I'm fairly... Any other general questions? I think I answered on most of the things, just straight out. Does the unlock or recipe work on the modules? Yes, they should work on modules without a problem. Now, I haven't practically tested it as of today, because Remy's still doing... I'm on Remy's custom branch right now for some of the latest module fixes. But I believe they should be working just straight out of the box. I'll be testing that and kind of reaffirming it and making sure that it works for the playtest. But yeah, it's fully integrated with the same benefit system, so that should be... It should basically just be plug and play. Any idea on how the upgraded recipes will look like? A good feature of 1 to 5 was many different papers. It'll probably be something akin to like a you know, kind of have the same structure. I'm also looking at adding more research papers for all the different professions that currently does not have them. and doing some adjustments to some costs. There are a few I'm not entirely happy with the recipes for, so expect a whole... Like, the balance list for 0.14 is going to be massive. And it's probably... I'll probably do a separate post just in text form that'll just be a freaking document you can download instead, because it's gonna take out like 25 A4 pages or something. But yeah, no, it's something to look forward to. And like I said, pop in on the playtest once that starts, and you know, just run it through the ringer and see if you can figure out any blatant issues that I overlooked, or that, you know, my brain just went, yeah, this seems like a good idea, and then someone goes and breaks the breaks a recursive recipe and goes absolutely crazy and gets like an infinite amount of boards or something. Yeah, all food stuff is going to be generating bioresidue scrap, and some of the stuff that's going to be compostable, and getting compost from these things are going to be a lot easier as well. So getting some fertilizer and stuff like that is also going to be a bit easier through this new system. So yeah, there's... Which also actually... we have like circuits. We just drop them on the ground. So the way this works now is with the trash, which, you know, back to the garbage. If you have trash and you are dropping it on the ground, it'll generate the same you know, scrap piles as it did before. But it will bind up to how much becomes a block, and then it'll separate out and make more blocks out of it. So for example, this thing, it'll generate 4 pieces of garbage chunks out of that one, and then it separates out. So if you have a whole... if we do go crazy like this, we do this. Let's see if this explodes or causes absolute carnage. So it generates a volume based on it. Doesn't that just open doors to griefing? I mean, it doesn't necessarily work different than it does right now. Most server just tends to, you know, put in a global law as soon as they can against just dropping trash on the ground or not on your property. Can you recycle a table with upgrades in it? Yes. I'm not entirely sure how we want to treat that. Because right now any object that has a salvage recipe to it is crushable, but I'm leaning towards preventing it from eating a table that has modules in it for the specific purposes of crafting tables should inherently not go out of use. That makes sense. Like there shouldn't be a need to recycle, you know, a sawmill, because the sawmill's always in use. It's not gonna not have a use late game. Are the advanced tables going away with the upgrade changes? Not initially. That's still something that I am very torn between. Hey, Zangdar, did you showcase the new dynamite also? I did not. Well, new and new. Let's do this. Why is it not wanting to let me place this? I'm having problems with Unity overall. Is it just not liking it because it's not my... It is my property. I swear to God, Unity has done nothing but being problematic this stream. Hello? Why are you not wanting... Mining charge work? Mining charge works? Why is the dynamite not working? I don't know why that one isn't working. Do this. So previously, stuff kind of just vanished, right? Or, you know, they kind of turn into garbage and whatnot. But with the new system, it turns into the type of material. What we do shovel. So when you blow something up and you accidentally blew up a house or whatever else, it's gonna turn into garbage piles. And the garbage piles is going to be compromised of a mixture of trash as well as the material and the salvage that is linked to that type of block. So bricks, for example, they're comprised of ceramic scrap. So when we blew it up, we got a bunch of trash and we got a bunch of ceramic scrap back out of it. So you know, you can quickly kind of demolish your house and you get scrap out of it. Now the easiest thing here would probably be a little bit more controlled dynamite and an excavator or something just to clean this up quickly. But yeah, that's also a nice little kind of garbage related, but more wholesome interactions across the systems. So yeah, a lot of playful new things that popped in, and also note that while this guy was outside the blast radius, the other one was not, and the other one got nuked, and that's a world object, and it just went boom. So not even now it worked. I don't even know. Hey, there we go. World object gone. No more flying. No more flying windmill. It's in here somewhere with some wood scrap. Guarantee it. One person's garbage is another person's mean for trolling somewhere else. Yeah, that is very true. Anyway, I hope it was educational, and I apologize for the chaotic gray boxes that we still have. And depending on where we are with pollution, by the end of next week, I might try to get a Friday or Saturday stream up by then. So you know, it's gonna be coming out, and then I'll probably do like a balanced stream, and we can just talk numbers and, you know, spreadsheets for a stream. If someone is interested in that, it's probably just me and 2 other people. Does oil drilling create this new trash? Oil drilling will create this new trash. It'll be a bit of toxic waste being generated by it, so nothing is gonna be clean, everything's gonna be polluting across the board. Like late game and you know, high-end industrial processes is gonna be bad for the environment, generally speaking. Yeah, it'll be a big new thing. Like what you've done with the place? Yeah, Red. What happens if you blow up a table? If you blow up a table, your table gone. Table be no more. I don't know if we do want to have. I don't know if we can track who upgraded the table. If we can refund stars to it. It'll be an investigation that we're gonna do. There are a couple of things that I'd like to do in order to avoid people from like losing. It's like they were recycled. I honestly have no idea how far we can take this. Not sure if it tracks the quantity of stuff in it, but I know it you know, that one doesn't break because that one doesn't really break. It drops out the blocks that's in the stockpile on the ground. And then it, you know, turns some stuff into compost and what have you. So, you know, it does just nuke stuff. You can dynamite your stars away. It's a beautiful way. If you have too many stars, just put in some upgrades and just blow them up and they'll be gone. But no, there are still a few bits and pieces that we're looking at, and New gameplay, blow up your competitors' tables so they lose stars, right? That's the PvP aspect of this. Dynamite, detonate on unowned property, can't damage stuff on owned property, you weren't authorized on anyway. No, that's very true. That's very true. Things protected if on someone else's claim by default. Yeah, I mean, if you're dropping off a dynamite, yeah, world objects must have their whole space be 50% in a radius of the boom to be destroyed. We'll avoid large lumber stockpile being destroyed because it's too far in from the blast radius. Was using the old dynamite mod as base for one of the automated digging apparatuses I've been working on. That sounds like a blast. Pun intended. Always intend my puns. But yeah, no, I think John's still participating in developing Ito. Yeah. He's the CEO. He owns the company. He has, final say in all decisions, all design, and every single bit and aspects of it. So he's very much, very much still working on Eco. But yeah. Hope you've enjoyed it. And, we went out with a bang here at the end. Will there be visual changes on crafting tables when you add each module, or is it just changing their math via benefits? There is a stretch goal of wanting to update the visuals on the tables, but it does require a significant amount of art time investment in, redoing a lot of the assets across the board for the tables. So, we'd like to do it. But there's a lot of work to do in order for that to be a thing. So we'll see how far we can take it before 1.0, and then with the animal husbandry. And as mentioned, animal husbandry is ongoing. Mike's been working on some of the feeding mechanics and the taming stuff, and kind of how you interact with the animals and how the animals behave once they're claimed and then tamed and yours. So there's still a bunch of a couple of new cool things in the background that's happening for that bit. So we'll have a bit of a reveal stream on that once we got 14.0 out of the door and we got some more tangible things to show. Because right now it's just a bunch of code that's being changed, so there's not really a whole lot of fun visuals. But yeah, like I said, we will try to get a pollution stream off next week, and then we'll probably follow up with some balance playtest stuff, and keep track, keep checking on Discord to keep up to date. And until next time, wish you all a continued great weekend, and bye for now.